It's great to be here, and I'm privileged and thank PMI for having me over here this morning. So it feels wonderful to be here, and it's even more interesting to see the auditorium almost full. Good. So, when I was invited, I was in a dilemma. I didn't know which topic would be of interest to everybody. Like, I'm a finance professional and a high performance coach. So I was debating, what is the topic that would be most wanted and most interesting. So what I ultimately decided, I said, let me combine all this because I realized I was able to connect the dots. So here I am today with you this morning. I'm going to be talking about finance, high performance, and coaching. Right? So I thought I'll set the context with this. So before we deep dive, let me tell you a small story. This is a real life story. It's about a person called Ramesh. Ramesh was in his midlife and he was overwhelmed with his work that he was doing. He was hardworking from morning 9 till late nights. He felt he was underpaid for the work that he was doing, right? And then he spoke to his boss saying, he needs to get promoted. The boss pushes him back to say, you need to work on your communication skills. You don't know how to manage your team, and therefore you're not fit for promotion. Obviously, Ramesh got demotivated. He wanted to study further. He thought he'd look out for a change. And so he wanted to study further. He didn't know what he had to study. He was all confused. And then he thought, let me just quit my job. But he realized he had his monthly EMIs to be paid for. So he couldn't take that up. And then there was a lot of family pressure. Most of his cousins were like CEOs and CXOs and holding high roles in different organizations. So he was under pressure, and because he hadn't yet reached there, he felt he wasn't spending enough time to take care of his health. Right? He didn't have time for his family or friends. And not just that, he felt he wasn't able to meet his financial goals. And all in all, he felt he was a failure. This was the story of Ramesh about 8 months ago. Ramesh is now totally transformed and he's become a high performer. So how did this magic happen? Because Ramesh took a help of a coach for himself and was able to achieve this. Now through the session, I'll take you through to see how this is possible on various fronts. So let's break this down into simpler things. So what is performance? I'd like to hear from you. What do you think is performance? Anybody?
Exceeding expectations.
Exceeding expectations. Lovely. Yes.
A high throughput or an output. From being productive, a high throughput.
Being productive and throughput. Okay. Yes. Good. One more.
Completing a task successfully.
Completing a task successfully. Absolutely right. So performance is the action or process of accomplishment of a task or function. Right. So if you were to look, what is high performance? Any takers for this?
Exceeding goals.
When you are
Exceeding
hitting the
goals.
goals
Consistently.
Sorry, when you are
hitting the goals
getting your goals. Okay.
consistently.
Rapid
Beautiful.
accomplishment.
Rapid accomplishment. Beautiful. So high performance is achieving superior results by performing to a high standard. Now, who's defining these high standards? It's none but your own self. So let's say you think you're working at 80% of your capacity and you know that you have the potential to go up to say a 90 or 95% and you reach there, that is high performance. Right? So who do you think is a high performer? Now, if we say talk about movies, probably immediately you think of Rajnikant or Amitabh Bachchan. If I talk about, let's say, tabla, you think about Zakir Hussain. Let me give you a real life story. This is about my milkman. His name is Sarvanan. He's in his early 20s. Saranan's day starts at about 3:30 each morning. He delivers milk to all the houses in the neighborhood, and then he heads to his office. He works from 9 till about 5, and then in the evening, he takes tuitions for school children. I didn't know about this. I originally thought, all he was doing is to supply milk to all the households. But when I, got to know of this, I was mighty impressed. So I asked him, I said, Sarunan, how is this possible? What is driving you to do this? So he tells me that he has certain financial goals for himself. He wants, the betterment of his family. And that's what is driving him to work so much, be more productive and achieve all this. So I said then, since you're already working, why don't you just get a better job and do a regular job like most other people? So he's calculated that as well, and he was very smart. He said, even if I move my job, I'm not going to earn as much as doing these 3 jobs. So he was very happy doing what he was doing. So according to me, he is a high performer, and I'll tell you why. What are the traits of a high performer? You must be able to exhibit leadership skills. You must be inspiring others. You need to show efficiency in what you do. You need to be self-motivated. Motivation is something when it comes from within, it makes a whole lot of difference. You need to be an innovator. Like you said, you need to be productive. And most importantly, like Syed said, you need to be consistent in whatever you're doing. So if you have these qualities and attributes, then you are a high performer. So what do you think is financial high performance? Anybody? Any guesses?
Return on investment, high return.
High return on investment. Okay. Okay.
Consistently delivering high results,
Consistently delivering
expected results.
expected results. Good.
Less volatility.
Less volatility, but is volatility within our control? Take the rupee for instance, right? Okay.
You can take care of your future also.
You can take care of your future. Good. Good. So higher
perform top lines and bottom lines.
higher top line and bottom line. Okay.
Less vulnerable.
Less vulnerable. Okay. So if we were to put a definition to it, applying financial prudence in achieving better financial health and financial freedom based on your financial target and financial requirements. Right. So this is what is financial high performance. This could be applicable to your organization. It could be applicable to you as an individual. Right. So how do we go about this? So, in any sphere, not just your financial performance, in whatever domain you want, whatever areas of your choice, if you want to achieve high performance, how can you go about it? So I have come up with some 5 tricks. I'm calling them high performance tricks. Right? So what are the challenges and how do you overcome this in order to be a high performer? Let's look at some of those. So HPT here stands for high performance trick number 1. So let me again start off with a small story. So there was this rich merchant and who's lived his life very well, and then finally he decides all he wants is enlightenment. So he goes in search and he finds a saint, and then he goes to him and he says, "Oh saint, bless me, I need to be enlightened right away. I'm this rich merchant from this place and I need to get enlightened right away, so please bless me." So the saint looks at him and he says, "Oh, you want enlightenment? That's it? Okay, no worries. You'll be enlightened in seconds, no problem." So this guy was very thrilled. So he says, "What do I have to do to get this enlightenment?" So the sage points him to a small hill that was nearby. So he says, "Go on top of the hill, and all you have to do is, meditate there for 1 hour. And end of the meditation, you're going to be an enlightened person." This guy was extremely thrilled. He said, "Is that all it takes to get enlightened?" The sage says, "Yes." So he said, "Okay, great. Let me go right away." So this guy was about to go, and the sage says, I forgot to tell you one little thing. He says, what is it? No, when you go there, just ensure you don't think of a blue monkey with a red tail. Okay? And what does the human mind do?
Think about it.
Yes, absolutely. So all he could think of was a blue monkey with a red tail. Right? So that is what happens to our minds. We have a lot of attention deficiency syndrome. Right? And there's a lot of interference from our mind. So this has been beautifully captured by Timothy Galway in his book called The Inner Game of Tennis, where he talks about S1 and S2. Has anybody read this book here? Okay. So he says S1 is self 1 and S2 is self 2. S1 is the instructor and S2 is the doer. So the instructor is always, the S1, the instructor is always telling the doer, S2, do this, don't do this is right, that is wrong. There's always this inner chatter and a mind dialogue that's happening inside us. So he says, if S1, that is the instructor, just allows the S2 to do its job, then you're going to be having the best of your performance. Because how he defines performance is the difference between your potential minus the interference. And the interference here is from your S2, S1, which is the instructor who is always instructing S2, the doer. So if you can silence that and ensure that you are focused, then you will be able to achieve what you want in a much easier fashion. So what do I call this? I call this AQ, nothing but attention quotient. Because wherever the attention goes, your energy flows there. So how available are you and how focused are you? That is what matters. How many of you are here in the now? Yes, okay. See, that's what it shows. So how attentive are you? How available are you is what is important. So that is on the attention quotient. So like I mentioned, you need to be available and be focused. And this I would relate with regard to the financial high performance as your financial requirements. Let me again give you another example of a person called Mohan. Mohan had just started working and he was very excited that he's earning his own money. And most of the months, what used to happen, by about the 20th of each month, he would have blown up his entire salary. And sometimes towards the end of the month, even for his basic requirements, he would have to borrow some funds from his friends or colleagues. That is because he didn't know what were his financial requirements. He was not able to plan it properly. And he came to me saying, this is a big challenge that I'm having, and I coached him on the awareness of financial planning. So once you know what your requirements are and you plan it easily, then you're able to meet your ends and live your life comfortably. So decide on what your financial requirements are. So let's now look at the high performance trick number 2. Let me give you another example. Let's say you've just received an invitation and the invite says you're invited for the talk of your favorite role model or your favorite person, the person whom you adore. So it says, please come for this talk by your favorite person on your favorite topic, and it's going to be held, let's say this afternoon from 2 to 4 p.m. in Chennai. So you look at it, you're mighty excited, you're mighty thrilled because this is something you've been waiting for. You want to go and hear the favorite person talk about your favorite topic. So you're all set. And then tell me what is the flaw in this invite. Any takers? Yes, absolutely right. The venue is not mentioned. It just says Chennai. So where in Chennai? You are lost. You don't know where to go about. You can't go searching the entire Chennai if you don't know the venue. So that's what I say. The challenge is sometimes you're aimless. You're unaware and you are directionless. So, how does one get over this? PF stands for purposefulness. What is the purpose behind what you're doing? So, once you know the purpose, then it becomes a whole lot easier for you to achieve what you want. Let me here tell you another real life story. This is about Arunima Sinha. How many of you have heard of Arunima Sinha?
I've read the book.
You've read the book, lovely. Just two?
She is skilled Everest, right?
Absolutely. She's not just skilled Everest, she's the first amputee. Yeah, she doesn't have both her legs. So just quickly give you a background of her story. She's from, I think, Uttar Pradesh. She was I don't recall, but I think a national level the volleyball player or one of the sports persons. She was traveling by train to Lucknow because she was going for a job interview. In the train, some dacoits attacked the train and they wanted to snatch her gold chain. And as an impulse, she resisted. The dacoits got angry with her and threw her out of the moving train. And as a result, she lost both her legs. Most of us, we would have just said no. I mean, that's it. My life is over. My career is over. We would have probably just said no. But what did Arunima do? She decided to scale Mount Everest without having both her legs. So she's one of the first female amputees who scaled Everest, and she didn't stop there. She's been scaling the highest peak in each continent. I think she's completed all the seven she's completed. Very inspiring. And then she's been raising funds because she wants to start her own academy for people with disabilities and train them in various sports and other areas. So she has found herself a great purpose in life, right? So we don't have to wait till tragedies befall us to see what we need to do. So if you can find your purpose and see what is it that you want to achieve, it makes a whole lot of difference. So have your vision and weigh your priorities. Know what is it that you want. So set yourself a financial target. Again, I was coaching a person who was very clear saying that, in so many years' time, I need to raise to the rank of a CEO, which is fantastic. So when I asked the person, great, what about your financial targets? What about your financial goals that you want to achieve? The person was blank. So while we tend to design and craft our careers, what are we doing about our financial targets? What are the financial goals that you're setting? That's something you need to check with yourself and see what is it that you want to achieve. Let's move on to high performance trick number 3. Okay, before I get into this, I must admit this stage is slightly nostalgic for me. You know why? Because my first book was actually launched right here by TiE Chennai. And I should tell you a slight background to this. I was never planning to become an author. I had no intentions of writing. But in 2015, I had been on a family vacation to Cambodia. I don't know how many of you know the Cambodian history. Anybody knowing the Cambodian history? Sorry? Angkor Wat Temple? No, but I'm talking about something else. Pol Pot. Pol Pot, right? So from 1970 to 74, there was a mass genocide in Cambodia by a person called Pol Pot and his men. Really barbaric, torture, and horrible stories, So even now, when you go to the capital of Cambodia, which is Phnom Penh, there's something called killing fields. So you walk in the killing fields. Even now, you'll find pieces of bones and nails. It's really traumatizing. And then there's this huge tower that's filled with skulls and bones. So when I saw these things and heard those horrifying stories, something happened in me. Unknowingly, it got me thinking, what happens if man becomes so cruel? So unknowingly, I had kind of weaved the story in my head. And then, I thought probably I should write about it. And then, what does the mind voice say? The S1 and the S2 comes into play. It says, you're not a writer. Who's going to read it? Nobody is going to like such stories, so just forget it. So I kind of pushed it aside. But even after a few months, the same thing kept coming back to my mind, and then I somehow mustered courage and I said, okay, probably why not write about it? But then, usually you're so busy and, this is never a priority. I never thought about it. I just started, I think, 1 or 2 chapters and then left it aside. Luckily for me, about a year later, I saw there was this 100-day book authoring challenge. And we're so used to deadlines and challenges, right? And that's what drives us. So the moment I saw it, I said, okay, this is what is going to ensure completion for me. So I mustered a lot of courage, and then I went ahead, we completed the book. And it was right here at this launch, I was pretty nervous because that was when the book was out and I didn't know what will be the reception, what would people say. I had a whole lot of butterflies in my stomach about it. But guess what? Last year in November, I was awarded as one of the 100 inspiring authors of India for the same book. Okay. So that was something so unexpected. And the reason I'm saying this is the third trick. CZ stands for comfort zone. Magic happens outside the comfort zone, right? So if you're going to be like wondering and remain in a cocoon filled with fear, nothing is going to happen, right? So only when you step out of your comfort zone, try it. I mean, if it fails, it fails. It's all right, but at least you have tried. So how are you stepping out of your comfort zone? So that pushed me out of the comfort zone. And what did I do? I didn't stop there. I came up with my second book, which is called What the Finance, because I realized a lot of people didn't know how to handle the finance of their business. So I came up with the second book. So that is what happens once you come out of your comfort zone. You increase your boundaries. And I call it BC, standing for discipline, because it's bliss plus discipline, right? So it becomes easy for you. It's no longer a challenge. It's no longer anything difficult that you have to achieve. So, like I said, that's what the magic happens, and you keep enhancing your comfort zone because it's no longer a challenge. So I would equate this in financial parlance to your financial health. Let me again give you a real life example. So there was this girl, not girl, a young a lady in her late 30s. She wanted to buy a house. She was always dreaming of living in her own house, and she had kind of identified the right property and was planning to invest in it. And just then, she was discussing about it to her best friend. And the best friend, with all the right intentions, shared the best friend's experience with her. Her friend had lost her job, during the course of paying up her EMIs, and as a result, she wasn't able to complete the purchase of a house, her best friend. So she warned her. She said, it may happen to you. So I would advise you, don't go in for these EMIs. Don't, invest right now in a house. What you should be doing is you should save. Save, get about 80 to 90% of the value, and then just for the balance 10% when you're financially secure, you can buy. So she was able to relate to that as well, and then she was in a dilemma. So she said, I don't know if I need to buy the house, because personally I would like to buy a house, but I'm able to understand what my friend is saying. Because what if I lose my job? What if I don't find another job? And what if I'm not able to repay my loan? So I don't know if I should go for a loan or not. So that's when I coached her on her financial health, and then she realized what is it that is the best for her, and finally she went ahead and purchased her house. So you need to assess. This is not one size that fits all. So you need to take cognizance of your requirements versus your capabilities, and then make the right prudent financial decisions. So let's look at high performance trick number 4. This is the most common. No time. We are all so busy all the time that we hardly find time for anything. I don't know how all of us spend our time, including myself, but end of it, we are all so busy. Blame it on your distractions, your social media, or whatever, and end of it, you just are wasting your time. So how do you get over this? I call it find the worthfulness of whatever activity that you're doing. You need to make smart decisions as a manager, be it at work or be it in your personal life. You need to be smart and take the right decisions to see what is worthful of spending your time. So I say you should calculate ROTI, the roti that we eat. So the easy acronym. It stands for return on time invested. We spoke about return on investment. Many a times we fail to quantify time probably because there's no physical cash outflow. But it's important. I mean, if you, let's say, delay your credit card payment, you're penalized, right? Why? Because the time has gone by. So time and money go hand in hand. It's important for you to realize this, that time is an essential and a very crucial factor. So whatever activities that you're doing, is it worthwhile for you? Is it getting you a return on whatever you're doing? So calculate that. Again, let me prioritize things that are important to you so that you get done with the most important activities, and then you find time for the rest of the things where you want to chill. So learn this art. So this to me is being financially prudent. Let me again give you a very small example. I was coaching an entrepreneur, right? Same story, no time. I am just so overwhelmed with work. He was telling me that he had never found time for family or any social outings. So during the coaching session, what emerged was he realized he was actually not delegating anything to his team. He had a great supportive team, but he had taken up the entire responsibility of executing everything on his own self. So the onus he felt was on him. So he decided that he needs to let go, trust his team, delegate work so that he gets time and he's able to prioritize his requirements and his planning according to it. So it's just that you need to take a pause, take a step back and see where and how you can be able to save your time. So similarly, you should look at tax planning versus tax evasion. There's a whole lot of difference between the two, right? So you need to just be cognizant of such things. Be financially prudent in finding out what is it that will give you better returns. You spend a time on something. Are you getting sufficient returns for it? You are your own judge. So you need to take that call. Let's look at performance trick number 5. I have an interesting story here to share. Not interesting, actually quite funny. This was years ago when I was doing a duathlon. So the duathlon comprised of, I think, 10 kilometers of running and I think 40 kilometers of cycling. So I had completed the run, and then I was on my cycle trying to complete the cycling stretch. It was very hot already. I think it was like maybe 10 o'clock or something, and I was finding it extremely difficult to cycle that day. So I felt, again, the inner voice, the mind kept telling me you haven't been working out enough for a long time and that's why you are struggling. So I was finding it extremely challenging to complete that bit, and probably like every 5 kilometers or so I was stopping, taking a couple of minutes rest, but my only objective was to complete. So I was focused that way, but I was taking my time and doing it quite slow.
Participate in the Alam?
No, this is Velachery. This was a couple of years ago. So finally, with great difficulty, I was so happy and relieved that I was able to complete it. I didn't want a DNF, which did not finish. So I completed, and then I get out of my cycle, and just when I was taking my cycle, another participant saw, and then what he told me? He said, there's actually no sufficient air in your tires. Which was true, and I had just failed to check it, right? It was something so basic, right? It did have, but it wasn't sufficient. So sometimes we are so blind to our own things. We don't know what it is, or we may be confused by what is happening. So I say, how do you get over this? By knowingness. By knowing what is it that you have to do. Learn what is required. Be aware of what is required to be done. If you don't know, take help from a domain expert or a coach or a teacher, or get hold of books But objective is for you to know it and get over what you're ignorant about, whatever is important to you. So you can get that. And this, in financial parlance, I would say is your financial freedom. Let me again give you an example of somebody who came to get coached by me. So she wanted to achieve financial freedom by a certain age, but didn't know how to go about it. Same, because she was being absolutely ignorant. So during the coaching process, what she realized is there are an umpteen number of things that she needs to work out to achieve her financial freedom. And that's when she started thinking on those lines. It's easy to say, I want this, but how are you going to get it is another story. So, since we spoke about this, now let us see how to achieve financial high performance. So, I'm going to talk to you about two principles here. Okay. This is going to be based on your cash flow. You can use this in your business, you can use this in your personal life as well. So I call it the bucketing principle, which is the first principle. This is based on your cash outflow. So how do you decide on a particular cash outflow that you have? So I've subdivided this bucketing principle into two. I'm calling it the non-negotiable bucket and the negotiable bucket. So what are the things that come under the non-negotiable bucket? So the first bucket is uncompromisable bucket. That's, for example, your loan repayment. You don't want to default it. Or something to do with your health. You don't want to take chances there. Or if you're running your own business, you want to ensure that you're paying your salaries on time, your employees' salaries. So these are things that you don't want to compromise on. Then comes your sentimental bucket. This is something where you're tied up, you have an emotional value attached to it. Let's say you're particular to donate an amount every month to a charity, for example, because it's close to your heart. Or if you are an entrepreneur, let's say you have a long-standing good employee who's in need of cash urgently, and you're all right to go the extra mile to help the person. So these are something that you have a sentimental value attached to it. Then comes your investment bucket. Investment bucket because you need to grow, and value your investment needs to grow in time. So there is again, if your business, you need to purchase, let's say, relevant equipments because that is going to help you to generate more revenues, right? So similarly, on an individual front, you want to invest in the right kind of investments. Because here I would like to caution you on two things. One is an appreciating asset and a depreciating asset. So what sort of investment are you putting your money in? Any examples on an appreciating asset versus depreciating asset? Anybody? Property is what? Appreciating. And depreciating asset? Cars. Perfect. So that is the third bucket. Then the fourth bucket is your return on expense. Like for example, you want to study something, higher education, right? So you know that if you study and invest in the right education, you're going to get better returns at a later date. So on the personal front, that is. And if you're having your business, I would say it's like a marketing expense because only if you invest in the marketing expense, that's going to give you better returns in the long run. So that is the fourth bucket. The fifth non-negotiable bucket is your timing bucket. For example, the school fees of your children. You have to pay it on time. Similarly, if you're running a business, you have to pay your statutory dues on time. So these are the non-negotiable buckets. What are the negotiable buckets? The first one is the compromisable bucket. Let's say you want to host a big party. Right? Is it the right time? Ask yourself. Or if you're running your own business, let's say you need to travel to visit, let's say, your client. So is it travel mandatory or is it possible to do it over VC, for instance? So that is an example of compromisable. Second is the extravagant bucket. Let's say you have to travel. So is it mandatory for you to stay in a 5-star hotel? Or is it okay to stay in, let's say, a 3-star or a 4-star? So what is it that your decision would be on that? And the third is the cheat bucket. New Year, whole lot of us want to go subscribe to a gym to say, I'm going to lose weight this year, right? So, and we know it's not going to last through the year. So that is the cheat bucket. So that is a negotiable one. So think on those lines. And then even many times as entrepreneurs, you may want to pay subscriptions to these clubs. And then you know you're not going to utilize it. It's probably because of peer pressure that you want to do it. So these I say are the cheat bucket. The fourth one I call it as the alternative bucket. Like, let's say you need to travel from point A to point B. Are you going to go by a Ola? Are you going to take an auto? Or are you going to take a bus? You know, what are your options? Look at the options and weigh them. You know, if you're running your own business, let's say your electricity costs. Are there any alternatives? Is it going to be, you know, if there's a power shortage, is it going to be only through the generator, or are you looking at windmill energy? What are your options? Evaluate them and see which is the best for you. The last bucket I say is the delay bucket. The delay bucket, you know, can you postpone the expenditure to another point in time, or is it that it has to be mandatorily spent only now? So that will help you to take a call on when you can postpone the expenditure. So this was on the cash outflow. Let's look at now the cash inflow. So I call this the tree principle because, like trees, you know, my wish is that the cash inflow should keep on and on growing. So the first one here I say is a forest. And you know why I call it a forest? Because in a forest there are many trees. So I'm saying you should have many sources of income, your cash inflow. It can be, you know, apart from your regular, you can have other things like your rental income, your dividend income, interest income, so on and so forth. So what are the multiple sources that you're looking at? Because we know about the job security these days, right? So it could be a business failure as well. So what are your other options, your plan B that you have in place? Then I call this the fertile areas. That's because, you know, you should know which are out of your different sources, which are the ones that are giving you the most, you know, the most fertile ones. So obviously you need to ensure that, you know, you're paying more attention to those. Know what is the minimum requirement and, you know, what is the maximum requirement. When we say maximum requirement, many of us think, you know, it's like, oh, you know, it goes up to infinity. But be more specific and gradually keep increasing it is what I would say, because that's when you're going to be more realistic. If you're running a business, I would call this as your profit strategy. What is it that you're doing to ensure to maximize your profits? Third is the market value. Knowing what your market value is. You know, ensuring you're deserving what is the market that is resonating with you. Are you getting paid according to what you're deserving? Or are you, let's say, if you're an entrepreneur, how is your pricing strategy? Have you priced your product or services at the right range? That is something you need to be cognizant of. Next is the scalability and sustainability. How deep rooted are you? Should, you know, an unforeseen thing like, let's say, a demonetization or this new GST or, you know, anything that comes into place, how geared are you to sustain your business or in your personal life? You need to check that. Then last is to de-risk. How are you safeguarding your own, be it your business or your personal finances? How are you de-risking it? Like look at Jet Airways, for instance, right? If look at the employees who were working in Jet Airways and they haven't got their salaries for a while, or if Jet Airways were your vendor for what, or, you know, any similar thing, you know, you may not be getting paid. So how are you de-risking? So when does one apply these two principles? So it's in relation to the time frame that you've set for yourself and with regard to your financial freedom that you want to achieve. So these two go in hand, and based on that, you decide when to apply that. So now what I'm going to do is, you know, like again, since we spoke about weight loss, you know, let's say your best friend is coming and asking you for an advice, saying, you know, I want to lose weight. What do you think I should do? What would you tell him or her? The two most common things, right? Go exercise, diet, right? It's very easy to say, and we know how difficult it is to follow because that's when the challenges keep coming. So what I realized is, by effecting these actions and challenges, that's when the real test is being done. So how does one perform to their full potential? So you could self-coach yourself, or you could take the help of an external coach so that you reach your peak potential. Let me again tell you about two real-life anecdotes here. The first story, she was born in Hyderabad to national level volleyball players. Her elder sister was a national level handball player, and although her family was fully into sports, this girl thought she wants to do medicine. But once when she was watching TV, she was very inspired by the person playing badminton that she decided to take badminton as her career, and she became the first Indian woman to win the Olympic silver medal. Who are we talking about? PV Sindhu, absolutely. So PV Sindhu got inspired when she saw her coach Pulela Gopichand play, and that's when she decided to go into badminton. And like we know, he's been coaching her for more than 12 years, and Sindhu is undoubtedly a high performer. Let me tell you another story. This story is about a person called Ram. Ram is an engineer by profession, and he was extremely passionate about music. And he also had a unique talent of playing like an a cappella. Though he knew he had all this, the interest and the talent, he lacked motivation. He kept procrastinating, and he was not taking any steps to bring out his talents. He had got himself a music teacher, but irregular to classes, wouldn't practice, the standard excuse like, oh, I don't have time, and he was not doing anything about it. And then he chanced upon a high performance coach, and he thought, okay, this is the time I need to seek help to grow because I'm having this challenge. I know I have this capabilities and I'm not overcoming that. So what did he do? Through the coaching sessions, he started going for his music classes regularly, started practicing his talent, and he ensured he became a lot more confident and happier person, and he started performing at local concerts. So this, he has actually moved notches up as a professional musician. So he is a high performer because he has moved from where he was to a much higher level. And that is what a coach has. A coach need not be a domain expert, because in Ram's example that I gave you, Ram's coach was not a musician. So who is a coach? A coach is not a teacher, not a mentor, not a counselor, and not necessarily a domain expert. A coach is one who partners with you, who inspires you, who provokes your thoughts, allows you to reflect, and helps you to get solutions to the challenges that you're facing. A coach does not necessarily provide advice, but facilitates your development so that you can enhance your awareness levels and achieve what you want to achieve at the end of the day. So who do you think needs a coach? Any guesses?
Anybody?
Everybody. Fantastic. Oh, I have a very smart audience. Okay, good. Right. So yeah, everybody needs a coach. So leaders, entrepreneurs, achievers, businesses, everybody needs a coach. And the only requirement is you need to have a desire to get to the next level. So some of the top reasons why an achiever needs a coach, a coach helps you to scale newer peaks, helps you to explore the terrains that where you have not dared to go. A coach, so that's why everyone needs a coach. Coach helps you to uncover your hidden potential, assists you in discovering your blind spots, partners with you and helps you to become more creative in your own process, provides you better clarity on your purpose, and of course helps you save time, most importantly. So these are what you just, and a coach also empowers you. So that is why everybody needs a coach. So then let's see how to select a coach and how to maximize your potential. So, very basic things to select a coach. So, first, see if you're able to establish a chemistry with your coach. Are you comfortable in discussing whatever you want? Because all coaching conversations are confidential. So, do you feel free to discuss what you want with your coach? What does your gut feel say about your coach? Whether the coach will be able to handhold you and take you through your challenges. You need to check on that. So basically, what is your comfort level when dealing with a person as a coach? And of course, what are the credentials your coach has? What are the testimonials the coach brings along, and what is the kind of experience a coach has? And these are some basic parameters that will help you to select the right kind of coach. And of course, what are the benefits of having a coach? I think we already touched upon them. Helps you achieve your goals, helps you to excel in your areas, gives you more clarity, kindles your thoughts, and helps you overcome your challenges to find out what is the best solution for you. So I think I have pretty much covered whatever I wanted to cover. So just as a quick recap, we spoke about performance, high performance, and financial high performance. And then we spoke about the high performance tricks, where we spoke about anybody would like to recap instead of me saying it? What were the 5 high performance tricks we spoke about?
High performance tricks. One is
Attention quotient.
Fantastic. Attention quotient, yes.
purposefulness.
Purposefulness, or
Time.
fabulous.
Time.
So how do you counter it? Time is the challenge that you had. So what is the solution?
Step out of your comfort zone.
Yes, step out of your comfort zone.
Return on
That I
time
call
invested.
discipline. ROTI, the return on time invested. That's your worthfulness, yeah.
Identify
Knowingness, yes. Fabulous, yes. Great. So, and then what were the 2 principles that we touched upon?
Marketing principles.
Bucketing and the 3 principles. Great. So, and then of course we spoke about the power of coaching, where coaching can be used by individuals, teams, and businesses, and it helps you reach higher levels of performance, getting more clarity, to peak your potential, to get deeper insights, and basically to move ahead. So I think with that, I would like to conclude and thank you for being such a wonderful audience.
Thank you, Ms. Sangeeta, for the wonderful session. I now request Mr. Prasanna to come up on stage to give a moment to our guests.